Well, good morning and welcome to Memorial Road, Church of Christ. Happy Mother's Day. If you weren't with us last week, I was not here last week. Mary and I took our 10-year anniversary, and so we were on vacation last week. And so last night, I got online and I thought, I should listen to and hear what was preached last week just so I know kind of what I'm getting into this week. So I got online, and one of our other ministers, Andy Lashley, preached this week, and I was ready to hear a gospel message late Saturday night, and there was a little bit of gospel in that message, and there was a lot of throwing me under the bus, which is great. Great to know. And there was actually, I want to start this lesson off with where he ended. So Andy showed an interesting picture of me. He was talking about how maybe I would be doing some evangelism on the island of Hawaii. And so he showed this picture of me giving a copy of the story to a hula girl, and Mary's not very happy about that. And so I do want you to know that there are souls to be saved in Hawaii. And while I did not adopt this particular method of evangelism on the screen, I did take a surfing lesson. And what I learned in surfing is that it's really easy to knock other people off their boards. And so there's a lot of people that weren't baptized in Hawaii. And so I just did a quick bump. And so many people were baptized in the Pacific Ocean because of my efforts. Just kidding. I didn't do that. But I did take a surfing lesson, and I did fall a lot myself, so I guess I was rebaptized many times in the water. Well, glad you're here. I am thankful just to be here, and for all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day, and I sure hope today is just a really meaningful day for you. One of the big challenges every year on Mother's Day is that you try to do a lot of things in a church service when you're trying to talk about mothers, because if you think about it, there are so many people in this room, and we're all in different life stages, and it's hard to know how to honor your mom depending on what life stage you are in, or it changes all the time. So, for example, I'm getting a card yesterday at the store, and I'm getting a card myself for my mother, and then I'm also helping my daughters, and then Heidi, 5 years old, 3 years old, I'm helping them pick out a card for their mother. And so they end up picking out a card, which this big cartoon-looking bird on a card, looks like Angry Birds, and the wings are spread wide, and the bird is saying, "I love you this much." Great card. I get a card from my mom, and it's just got a nice flower on it or something. And as I'm leaving the store, I put them both in their envelopes, and they're both in the same envelope, or same color of envelope. And as I'm driving away, this thought strikes me, what would happen if I accidentally switched up the envelopes? Now, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but a card that has a bird with its wings spread saying, "I love you this much," that's really cute when it's coming from a 5-year-old. When it's coming from a 31-year-old, that's very, very weird. And so it kind of reinforced this idea that, honoring mothers changes. It changes over time. And so on one day, we're all sitting in this room, and some of you are attempting to honor young mothers because you're young, and some of you are attempting to honor middle-aged mothers, and some of you are attempting to honor senior mothers, and some of you aren't honoring mothers at all. You're more grieving at the loss of a mother, either recently or in the past, and yet we all show up to church on the same day, and that's just challenging. How are you supposed to honor mothers when there's so many different life stages and so many different ways to do that? And so what I want to do today is to break down the room into a few different life stages and just talk for a little bit about how we might go about honoring our mothers depending on how old we are. And so I want to begin by talking to the younger people in the room in kind of a unique way. So what I want to ask to happen here is, if you are 3 years old through 6th grade, if you could just get up out of your seat and make your way onto the stage and stand on the stage facing the audience. 3 years old through 6th grade. Come on down. You're the next contestant on Mother's Day. Come on down. That's good, kids. You can hop on stage. Hop on stage there. That's good. Some of you can come right up front if you want to. Yeah. That's perfect. I like that. Come right up on stage. Wow, there's a lot of you. Okay. Okay, 3 years old through 6th grade. Okay, as you guys are finishing up, getting to the stage, quick question for you kids up there. Hi, by the way. How many of you kids were at the Walk for Hope thing a few weeks ago? Okay, very good. Now, just to introduce this thought here, I don't know if you can all see me, kids, and some kids are running up the aisle. Okay, so there's a story, kids, there's a story in the Old Testament where there's a guy named Elisha, and some kids make fun of him for being bald. And then, after the kids make fun of him, do you guys remember what happens? Well, they have an encounter with some bears from the woods, and that encounter doesn't go well. So the point of the story is you probably shouldn't make fun of, like, your leaders. So a few weeks ago at Walk for Hope, you guys can see this picture on the screen in front of you. This is what happened. So, yeah, I know you remember that. Yeah, you very much do. So you guys did this to me, and so if the kids in the Bible made fun of Elijah and bears ate them, well, let's move on. Okay, so here's a question I have for you kids. Raise your hand if your mother has ever asked you to do something that you did not want to do. Okay, very, very good. Can a few of you just tell me what does your mom tell you to do that you're just like, I don't want to do that? Go ahead, whoever. What do you think? Vacuum. Oh, yeah, we don't want to vacuum. What do you think? Go ahead. Oh, the dishwasher. How dare she? One more. You have to do the dishwasher too?
Yes.
What does your mom tell you to do that you don't like?
To do
You want to think about it? You think about it. Give me something. What? Oh, she tells you to go to sleep? That's terrible. Okay, you can put your hands down. Now, here's what happens. I'm going to tell you kids one thing that your mom needs. Let me read the Bible first. I got to read something here. Okay, most Bibles that you see are on phones today. This is a paper Bible, and I'm going to read from it here. So this is what the Word of God says. So kids, just listen for 60 more seconds here. Okay, here we go. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Now, it's not me saying this. This is the Bible saying this. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment, with a promise that it may go well with you and you may enjoy long life on the earth. How many of you want to live to your next birthday? Okay, well, yeah, you need to obey your mom. So here's the thing, kids. The number one thing that you can give your mother on Mother's Day, being a kid, is your obedience. Okay, so I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to tell me the number one thing you can give your mom. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Obedience. Okay, very good. All right, now I'm going to give you something practical. Shh, kids, I'm almost done here. Here's something really practical you can do. The greatest thing you can tell your mom when she asks you to do something is to say, okay, Mom. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to count to 3, and you guys say, okay, Mom. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I need to hear you in the back. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and you say, okay, Mom. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was average. All right, you guys over here, I'm going to count to 3, and you say, okay, Mom. Ready? 1, 2, 3. That's good. All right, now we're going to practice this here, and I'm going to tell you to do something that you don't want to do. And what are you going to say? Okay. All right, let's practice. All right, here we go. Hey, I really need you to clean your room. No, you got to practice this. This is terrible. Okay, I'm going to release the bears unless you get with it here. Okay. All right, we're going to try this again. Shh. This is for your mother, okay? So let's say that tonight your mom says, hey, it's time to get ready for bed. What would you say? Oh, okay, seriously. The first service kids were a lot better than you are, okay? All right, here we go. So here's the thing. Last thing I'll say, then you guys can go. You're going to be sitting with your moms, dads, or grandparents, somebody for the rest of church service, and they want to hear the rest of the lesson. So they're going to ask you to sit quietly, and you're going to say, okay, Mom, on 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Mom. Okay, now you can leave. Go away. Go get away. Okay, kids, safely make your way down. Safely, yeah. Wow. Hey, girl. Okay, go ahead and get him. Well, that went a lot differently than first service. So, parents, I apologize if any of your kids are hurt, and I don't think I taught your kids anything. So we'll just move on to the next age group and see if that goes better. All right. I have a few things I want to say to the next age group up. So if you find yourself in 7th grade through college age, I would ask you to come up to the stage. 7th grade through college. 7th grade through college. Come on up. There's a lot of you too. Wow. Welcome up to the stage. You guys can come up front too. We're going to get you all in there, so come up to the front here. Just step up. Okay. Now we'll see how you guys do, because the bears are still out there, and they can come to you too. Okay, so first question I have for you all is, how many of you have heard your mom cuss? Just kidding. Don't answer that. Don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand. No, don't do that. No. Now, I'm asking you that for a specific reason, and the reason is, let me explain myself here. Okay. When we are small children, our mothers can't do anything wrong. They're amazing. They're our heroes. They're the ones that comfort us. They're just these perfect women. And then something happens, usually around middle school, as we start to grow up, and for the first time we see our mother do something that's not great, that's wrong. So maybe she loses her temper, or maybe she's really rude to a waitress at a restaurant, or maybe she yells at you or yells at your sibling, and so for the first time you realize, whoa, you're like not perfect anymore. And so you get to this life stage now that you get it. Like, your mom's a real human being. She's got weaknesses. And what is very natural is when you see that your mom's not perfect, you want to use that against her. And so, for example, your mom says, I need you home at 11, and you're thinking, why would I obey you? You're not a perfect woman. I saw what you did yesterday in this episode or that episode. And so you want to use the fact that you're growing up and you see her for who she really is, and you want to use that against her. Now, it's Mother's Day, and that's really not what you should be doing. So I want to tell you the number one thing that your mom needs. I'm going to read you an Old Testament verse. The kids got a New Testament, you get Old Testament. Okay, this is Leviticus chapter 19, very simple. Each of you must respect your mother. Now, here's the thing about respect. At least I'll tell you, I get it. Like, you're not kids. You get that the world's not all black and white. You get that there's some complexities in the world. So I don't think anybody's asking you to blindly obey as if you were a robot and have no opinion when it comes to your mothers and fathers. But here's what your mom really does need. She does need your respect, even if you disagree. And let me tell you why. The reason why she deserves your respect, even if you disagree, is because she's the one that pushed you out of the womb. And you were a big pain back then. I'm not saying you're a pain now, but on day one, there was a lot of pain involved. And she went through that just for you. And so even on the days you don't agree with her, your mom really does need your respect. And so I'm going to give you two things, really practical ways. The kids didn't do very good with the okay, so let's move on from okay, and we're going to move on to two different things. Here's one. Very simply, it's your eye. It's something you do with your eyes. Okay. You are very good at moving your eyes up because of sarcasm, or moving your eyes down because of texting. You're very good at both of those motions. What your mom needs, she just needs straight ahead. If she's talking to you, she just needs you to look at her. Just look at her. She needs eye contact. So eye contact is a big thing with respect. Secondly, I'll tell you the next thing your mom needs. She doesn't need the blank stare. I'm like, I know you're good at the blank stare. Like, let's see it. Give us the blank stare. Just let us have it. Look at that. It's amazing. It's just amazing. You're so good at that. And, if there was an award for apathy, you would win that award, okay? But the thing is, with your mom, she doesn't deserve that. So eye contact and then just smile. Just smile. Like show us a smile right now. Try. I know you're happy you're fake. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Moms, they can do it. They can do it. So that's what you need. Your mom just needs eye contact and smiling. Great job. You can go sit down. Thanks for being here. It's like a reunion. Way to go, guys. Okay, so I'm 1 for 2 on age groups here. So now, let's just, if you're young adult and older, let's have everybody else stay where you are. We're not gonna, we can't get you on stage here. Well, a lot of the rest of ourselves find ourselves in the adult life stage, and so the question becomes, how do you honor your mother, not just when you're a kid, not just when you're a teenager or a college student, but what do we do when we are adults? And when you read through Scripture, usually people think that when the Bible talks about honoring mothers, that it's usually referring to young children. Well, there are many passages which do seem to have in mind young children, but there are quite a few passages which specifically have in mind adults. As in, here is how an adult can care for and love and honor her mother or his mother. And so one of those examples is in 1 Timothy chapter 5. Paul's writing instructions to Timothy, and he's talking specifically in this case about widows, but there's a general principle which is really, really helpful when it comes to how adults should honor their mothers. So 1 Timothy chapter 5, Paul writes these words in verse 3. Give proper recognition to those widows who are really in need. But if a widow has children or grandchildren, these should learn first of all, listen to this is really important. These children should learn first of all to put their religion into practice by caring for their own family, and so repaying their parents and grandparents, for this is pleasing to God. Those are some pretty powerful words. Because what Paul is suggesting there is that one of the greatest ways that people can put their religion into practice is by taking care of their families. You see, it's natural in life as our parents age that at some point the roles will be reversed. And that the parents who spent time taking care of you and us when we were kids, now we get a chance, or will get a chance at some point in our lives, to take care of our mothers and our fathers as they age. It's natural. If you find yourself getting older and people are taking care of you, don't be ashamed of that. That's a natural progression in life. And what Paul is suggesting here is that there is so much significance in taking care of people in your family. You see, right now there's a lot of people in this audience that you spend a lot of time every week as a caretaker. And you spend hours and hours and hours doing things that no one else knows about, and it's tiring. And oftentimes what happens when you are a caretaker is that you start to think about all the things that you could be doing, but you don't get to do because you're spending every hour of the day feeding your family member or taking your family member places or just visiting with your mother or your father, and it's so time-consuming that you think, well, why can't I be doing anything else? If you're a caretaker, you might have thoughts like, I wish I could be doing more meaningful ministry, like going on mission trips or having Bible studies, being involved in my Bible class, being involved in my small group, being involved at church, but I don't get to do any of those things because I'm caring for my mother or I'm caring for my father. If you're a caretaker, you might have had thoughts like, why is it that I have to give up my friends and that I have to give up my job and I have to give up my hobbies just to take care of my aging mother or my aging father? And it's so easy to think that what you do every day is not significant. And that's why when I read this passage from Paul, I'm just struck by this idea that taking care of our families is one of the most spiritual things that you can possibly do. You see, family is ministry. And so what that means is that every single minute that you spend taking care of somebody in your family, whether that's taking care of someone that's older than you, or sometimes it's taking care of someone that's younger than you, every minute that you spend doing that, you're doing something significant for the kingdom of God. And you don't need to wait for a different season in life to say, I'm doing great things for God. Because if you're taking care of family, that means you're doing great things in the name of Jesus right now. And you need to know that what you're doing is just as significant for God's glory as anything else. You see, family is ministry. Whether it's taking care of finances or making meals or providing comfort or providing company, it's ministry and it's meaningful. You see, if you find yourself an adult and you have a mother, let me tell you the thing that I think she needs the most. Yes, she needs your obedience, and yes, she needs your respect, but I think more than anything, mothers of adult children need our appreciation. And one of the ways we appreciate them is by taking care of them, but another way we appreciate them is simply by just telling them that we're thankful. You see, as our mothers get older, the one thing that they want to know is they want to know that the greatest project in their life made a difference. Our mothers spent years and years, decades raising us, and they want to know that it mattered. And so if you're an adult and you have a mother, perhaps today the one thing that you can give them that which would be more important than a card and more important than flowers or a hug or a phone call is meaningful appreciation. Tell them that what they did mattered. You see, one of the things that's sad about Western culture, even though there's many wonderful things about Western culture, but one of the things that's sad is that Western culture is not the greatest culture when it comes to honoring elderly people. There are many other cultures in the world which do a much better job of giving honor and respect to older generations. It's just not as big of a deal in Western culture. So, for example, if you go home today and turn on the TV and watch commercials, you're most likely going to see beautiful people in their 20s or in their 30s trying to sell the products that people want you to buy. And the reason for that is because our culture worships youthfulness. And so what that means is there are so many people who, as they get older, they just feel forgotten. And so what this means for you is that there's really nobody else in the world that's going to tell your mother that they're thankful for her. It's up to you to do this. A few months ago, there's a Chinese couple that worships at this church, and their names are Shefu and Xuxing. They were baptized about 3 years ago on Mission Sunday, and they're really good friends with my parents. And a few months ago, they had our family over for lunch. And I'm in a unique situation here at Memorial Road. I have 4 generations that go to this church family. My grandparents, my parents, my family, and then my children are all here. Shefu and Xusheng had us over for lunch, and after the prayer was said for the food, it was a buffet style, and we started to go through the line, and Shefu and Xusheng, right after the prayer, they pointed at my grandparents, Ferris and Betty Brookman, and they said, "We want you all to go first through the line." And as they were making their way through the line, I kind of went aside and asked Shefu and Xusheng, what is the story or the reason why they have the elderly go first? And they said, well, there's not really a great story or reason for it. That's just the way we do it in our culture. We respect the older people. And I always think back on that day, and my main thought is, I wish that our culture did that too. I think it's really sad that we give a lot of attention to youthfulness, but oftentimes we forget how to respect the elderly. And so there's a lot of you mothers today, and you find yourself in a senior season of life, and I want to spend a little bit of time for a moment just telling you how much the rest of us care about you and telling you how thankful that we are for your service and everything that you've done as mothers. And so what I would ask you to do is, if you are a mother and you are 70 years old or older, I would ask you to stand if you're able. If you're not able, you can raise your hand. But I didn't want to ask you to come on stage because that would probably be a difficult thing for some of you. But if you're 70 years old, I just want you to stand where you are. And if you could just remain, You can sit down if you want to, but you guys, you remain standing, you too. I had some specific things. If you could, I had a few specific things I wanted to say just to honor you. So you're welcome to stand up, or if you're already seated, you can sit. But I wanted to specifically thank our senior mothers for just a few things. One, I want to thank you for all the laundry that you did without a washing machine. Thank you for doing that. And I want to thank you for all the dishes that you washed when you didn't put them in a dishwasher, but you were the dishwasher. So thank you so much for that. I want to thank you for delivering your babies without epidurals. I want to thank some of you, you had to hold down the home when your husbands went off and fought in the war. And so I want to say thank you for doing that. I want to say thank you for persevering through all the painful times in your life. I want to say thank you for your devotion, and I want to say thank you for your commitment to the church and your commitment to the Lord. And I guess overall, I just want to say thank you for remaining faithful. Behind every great family stands or stood a great woman of God. And you hold your families together, and then through your families, you hold this church together. And so I just want you to know that from the bottom of my heart, I am so thankful for all that you have done as mothers throughout your lives. So let's show them our appreciation one more time. Thank you so much, and thanks for standing twice, some of you. I want to end by saying a brief word to some of the people in the room. You can't honor your mom because your mom's not here. You're not in a young life stage or a middle life stage or older life stage. There's no mother to honor at this season of life. And so coming to church on Mother's Day is really difficult because it makes you think about all the memories that you had with your mother and wish that you could see her again. And I just want to say a word to those of you who sat through church today and it was just really, really difficult. A few weeks ago, I pulled out a Mother's Day prayer book, and I opened up to a random page, and the first line that I read was a really interesting line. The prayer said, "In the garden of God, even broken trees can bear fruit." And I thought that was a really great line. So I got on the internet, and I wanted to see who had written that line, and it turns out that Rick Warren was the man who said that line originally. He's the guy that wrote Purpose-Driven Life. And as I was looking at other things that he had said about getting over losses, because he's had some significant losses in his life. As I was reading over that, he said two things which I want to leave you with today, specifically for those of you who find yourself really grieving, either over a mother that you used to have, or maybe you're a mother and you're grieving because you've lost a child. Or a lot of us are just grieving because of a lot of our dear, dear members of this church have passed away in the last few weeks. So here's two things that Rick Warren said, which I found really helpful. One of the things he said is, when it comes to emotional pain and when it comes to grief, you don't get over it. You get through it. And I thought that was really helpful because sometimes when people are grieving, other people who are somewhat insensitive to the situation say things like, "Well, that was 10 years ago. Aren't you over it by now?" Or that was 2 years ago, or that was 30 years ago. Aren't you over it by now? Well, no. There are some people in this room that they'll never be over what they lost because you don't get over when a loss is that significant. But that's okay. You don't get over grief. You just get through it. And so for some of you, that's what you're doing today. You're not getting over things. You're just working through it one day at a time. A second thing that Rick said is he said, in order to get through grief, you do that not through suppressing your thoughts and feelings about it, but you get through grief through expressing your thoughts and feelings about the situation. And so the one thing I would encourage you all to do today is if you do find yourself showing up to church grieving today, is don't grieve alone. You need to express that grief over and over and over. If you lost someone years ago, the grief you're experiencing today is different than the grief was 2 or 3 years ago. And that needs to be expressed. And one of the great things about church, about being the people of God, is that when we come together, that's one of the great values of us as people. We express things together. It's what the church does. And so as we close this Mother's Day sermon, if there's people here that you want to express things and have us pray for you, we want you to come and tell us about those things at this time. And there could be some of you that you've never made the decision to be baptized and follow Jesus. And perhaps as you were watching the video earlier, you started thinking about your own life, and you want to make that decision today. If there's something that we can do to help you, we want you to come while we stand and while we sing.